We're going to move into kind of closing us off for today. Wow, what a great day. I hope that you all have enjoyed the session here today. I've been taking notes in the background with some of my key takeaways, and I want to encourage all of you as I go through and I share some key takeaways about each of the speakers and their topics. I want to hear what you remember from the speakers as well. So we started the morning with Lee Meadows, and I'm just going to pull up on screen here, kind of navigating as I'm going through here. We had Lee talking about consulting. It's not about you. Do you remember that? That was our first presenter from this morning at 11 a.m. And I jotted down a couple notes from the talk there. And many of you have commented on this. There's been themes that have been interwoven into the talks, right? And these things all kind of tie in together. I had a couple takeaways from Lee, several takeaways, but the two that I noted down: focus on what your clients need, not what you are selling. And sometimes that can be hard to do because when you're first starting off your business, or even in be riding the roller coaster, you've got some great months and then you've got some soft months. I don't like to call them bad months because that makes it sound bad, but it's a soft month. The revenue's a little softer than you would like. You've got some great revenue months and you got some softer ones. You might find yourself falling into that habit of just trying to push to sell all the time, as opposed to Lee's advice was really focus not on what you're pushing, not what you're selling, but what does your client need? Right? That's an important element. So that was one of my takeaways from Lee. I want to invite you, if you watched his talk, what did you remember from Lee's talk this morning? Another thing I remember is this whole concept of hearing versus listening. You might have heard the words that they were saying, but were you listening? Right? I remember that. And he said, when you're listening, you're going to ask questions. And we even had someone on this morning with us who said, after listening to Lee's talk, he said he's doing a discovery call this afternoon. And he's going to ask some more questions. So I'm not a betting woman, but if I were, I'd say I would put some money on the fact that that call went really well, maybe better than the typical discovery call, because when you're asking questions, the person on the other end is going to feel like, wow, she really listened to me, or he really listened to me. Not a lot of people do that. A lot of salespeople are just pushing their messages out. So focusing on listening will help you to ask questions. So I'm looking in comments to see if there are others in here as well. There's a little bit of a delay. So if you watch from this morning and you have anything you remember from Lee, just say one thing I remember from Lee is, and then share that with us. All right. So that was our first presenter from this morning. Our second presenter was Macarena, and she was talking about activating your potential. And there were some analogies, some stories that she told, and one was about that fly that's kind of flying around inside your car, and it keeps hitting itself on the windshield even though the window's open. Like, stop making it so hard on yourself, right? And sometimes there's an easier path to get to things, and we just have to be open to those possibilities. And she also talked about her formula: E plus R equals O. Event plus result equals outcome. I'm reading my notes over here as I'm doing this. And she was even talking about, consider, like, what did you choose to do during the pandemic? We were all in the same boat at that time, right? So did you hunker down and figure out some new things to do and figure out new opportunities, or did you just complain about the situation that we were in, right? What did you do? Taking ownership. She talked about that formula of writing down I can't and writing down the things that you or rather I won't was the first one. I won't lose weight. I won't read more books. I won't start working out, whatever it was. Replacing I won't with I can't, making sure that you're aware you're making choices about these things. So those were a couple of my takeaways from Macarena, and I'll encourage you, if you have some additional ones you'd like to add in, to drop those into comments as well. All right, our third speaker was Sarah Larson this morning, and Sarah was talking about how to create systems and processes to save time and money. And I'm going to pull that topic up on screen right now as I'm summarizing some of my takeaways. This was a really interesting thing. And she talked about the fact that we all have systems and processes. They're either habits, they're hacks, they're procedures, there's methods of organization. We have some. Maybe we haven't really solidified in our mind that these are systems and processes that we already have, but we all have them, right? And she talked about this whole concept of sometimes when you're self-employed, you can have this tornado in your head, all these ideas that are kind of floating around, they need to get out. So have a brain dump and just drop everything, whether it's using a system like Trello. By the way, I use Trello. I love it. It's a really great online tool. Or maybe you're a post-it note person. I've got post-it notes all in my desk. I've got all colors of the rainbow post-it notes. Maybe you're a whiteboarder, so you write things on a whiteboard, or you're a notepad kind of a person or a planning tool person. But start getting those out of your head, doing a brain dump. And then the next exercise in there is categorizing them. And I love the categorization she gave us: do, delegate, or delete. And it might have been the other order: do, delete, delegate. I'm not sure. But I love how break everything apart, and there are things that are on your to-do list or in your mental space, right, that maybe just need to be deleted entirely. Some other people can do them, so let's delegate them out. And some are things that you need to do. And then from within there, there's probably some that rise to the top of your priority list, right? So I really love that advice that Sarah Larson had to share with us today. Then we heard from Nikia Young, and Nikia was sharing with us. Let me pull her topic up on the screen here. It's Get Your Mind Right: Mental Health Tips for Solopreneurs. And I really love this topic. Let me just pull her topic up on screen. I'm piloting and co piloting. So if you see me kind of doing this right now, because I'm trying to do all the things. But here we go. All right. So and there's a couple of really cool things that she had talked about. Such a great presentation, great energy, don't you think? She said, pay attention to the energy that's created when you interact with people, or that feels like it's being pulled away from you, that negativity, right? She talked about that. And she had a series of, I think there was 5 different tips that she went through. I wrote down some of my takeaways from just a few of them. The stinking thinking part was really resonated with me. And I remember I had this in the beginning of my business, but I still have it occasionally to this very day. The people that belittle the work that you do, or try to downplay it. Oh, you're still doing that coaching. You're still trying speaking. Everybody, their mama's doing speaking. Remember that? I heard her say that. Don't let people rain on your parade or pull negative, add that negative energy into what you're doing, keeping in mind that you need to kind of preserve what you're doing, and you need to preserve the mental space that you're allowing others to have within the activities that you're doing. So being aware of those things, I think it was really important. She talked about the Superman, Superwoman syndrome. And, the fact that a lot of us will just, will say, oh, I was up so late last night. I'm so exhausted. I'm working so many hours. That's not a badge of honor. That's killing you. Right. So stop bragging about the self that you're bragging about yourself working so hard, and start to figure out, do you refuse to delegate? Do you need to start delegating, or do you need to start taking some things off of your list? Maybe applying the same things that Sarah was talking about, the do, delegate, delete, right? All of these things started to become intertwined at that point. So those were some key takeaways from me for Nikia. If you have anything you want to add, drop them into chat. I'm going to pull your comments up next. Oh yeah, the remix. I forgot about that. The remix was really great, and she's got a downloadable PDF that we're going to make available to all of you. Laura, thank you. And Deshelle said the same thing as well. Thank you. I didn't jot down the acronym, but now that you say it, I'm like, yes, that remix. It was a really great tool inside of there. All right, what else? Then we moved into a panel discussion with Paula and Jen, and I had asked them some questions about their journey and their process to being self-employed, and some of the lessons that they learned along the way. And here's a couple things. And there are many of you I know that are former corporate employees, myself included. I used to be a corporate gal myself, worked in corporate marketing. But as you climb up the corporate ladder, the job that you love may change, and you may not love it anymore. And there's a bit of a disconnecting emotionally process that occurs. And it's almost like you have to grieve the job that you used to love, and grieve your corporate career to allow yourself to be successful as an entrepreneur. And some of that, when you start to realize there's a disconnect between, I, I used to love my job, I don't love it anymore. And why am I not loving it? And why can't I find it in another organization? It sometimes is like coming to that conclusion: corporate is no longer right for me. It's really hard to come to that. Did you find that? I found that for myself. When I was looking for my next job, I couldn't find anything that I wanted to do anymore that was as good or better was what I was looking for. And I decided to lean into being self-employed. And now I'm enthusiastically self-employed, right? So maybe that resonated with you. I'm curious. Another thing is you can choose what you do and who you learn from. When you're self-employed, that's something that you can make as a choice all the time. You can surround yourself and network with other people who bring in that same energy, and you can distance yourself from the people that maybe don't bring in that same energy for you. The same learnings aren't occurring there. Jen also talked about spark and connect, and thinking about what lights you up and focusing in on more of that in your business. And then I think it was Paula who also said, know when to stop learning and start doing. Because you can get into this phase of just enrolling in this course and reading this book and going to this conference and this event. And eventually you realize you're not getting any work done because you're just immersing yourself in the learning process. At some point, you need to stop focusing on learning all the time and start doing, and then trust yourself throughout the process, right? So, those were just a few of the lessons I had jotted down as some of their key takeaways. I'm sure that you heard more. Go ahead and drop those into chat if there's other learnings that you'd like to share with us. Then, after the panel discussion with those two ladies, then we moved into a discussion with Vicky O'Neill, who is my kind of like my go-to video person. She got me hooked on CapCut. I don't know if there's any other CapCut users that are here in the audience, but before that, I was using Clips. And if you have an iPhone, you've got the Clips app automatically on your phone. But CapCut, it's kind of like Clips on steroids, and it's free. There's a premium version; you can get better things in it, but it does a lot more than Clips, and it still allows me to edit videos and then I can export them and whatnot. So, what did she talk about? You remember her story in the beginning? She talked about being at a conference and somebody came up to her and said, "Hey, aren't you Vicky? I've seen your video. I feel like I know you." Video makes this connection for you with your ideal target audience. They're watching you all the time. And I find this happens to me too. People I meet in person or online, they say, I've been following you for years, love your videos, love your webinars. I want to do business with you. Here's my checkbook. Where can I sign over the check? I start working with you. And I've never heard from them. They've never interacted with me one on one up until that day that they want to start working with me. Being on video, this is one of my takeaways from Vicky. Being on video helps you to attract more of your ideal target audience faster. And yes, being on video scares a lot of us. I get that. I was petrified when I first started doing video. You would never have seen this mannerisms, this level of confidence that's coming out for me when I first started. I would be shaking like a leaf. And Vicky talked about she has her first video and she every once in a while looks back on it. When I look back at some of my earlier videos too, they weren't that good. They're okay, but they weren't that great. There was little glimmers of things that I liked. But the Brenda today is the result of all of those videos I've been doing over the years. It's not just something I just turned on all of a sudden and I was great on video. And Vicky's point was it's a mindset shift. You need to get comfortable. Instead of saying, I won't do video, say, I can do video and I will start doing video. And remember when she talked about you can delete it, do it on your own phone, right? And then you can delete the video if you don't like it and re record it. You can do that as many times as you like. So just start doing it someplace. We talked about some hurdles. A lot of us kind of have that fear, lack of fancy equipment. And Vicky shared it's okay to work up to making investments. You don't have to start with anything fancy. You can use your phone to get started there. All right. And then we had our last speaker of the day, and that was Steve Woodruff. And Steve, wasn't it a great presentation? I mean, he talked about how to get really focused and get to the point, and that's what his presentation was. And he was perfectly on time. I asked each of our speakers to do a 20-minute talk, and it was like we got to 2:20, and he wrapped up and he said, "Let's do Q&A." And it was such a clear presentation. I loved his delivery style. Did you guys like that? I loved how he had really good pacing. He had very good clarity. I know he's practiced this and he's given this talk a lot, but I really like that. Technical elements aside, he had talked about focusing on what matters for your audience, right? And he gave us some really good tips. One of them that I jotted down was thinking of a pyramid. So at the top of the pyramid is the essence. Like, what do you really want people to know if they walk away from? Then there's the outline. What are the points that you're going to cover? And then there's the details at the bottom. And he talked about, even in your email, starting with the subject line and the first line being the essence of what it is that the goal of that email is to do, right? And one of my final takeaways from Steve, and this is interesting because I frequently talk about your elevator pitch when I'm working with clients. I'll look at your about statement, and I want you to do this. Like, do this later on today. Look at your about statement on LinkedIn and then think about if you are giving someone your elevator pitch about yourself, are they the same thing? At least a first paragraph, right? A lot of people, they copy from the resume, they drop it in their about statement. and that makes it look like you're looking for a job. But if you meet somebody at a networking event, you don't say the same thing that you have in your about statement. You describe yourself to your ideal target audience, right? So, what I loved about Steve's statement, he said, nobody really wants to, have somebody talk to them when you're in an elevator. I'm like, yeah, I kind of like laugh when he said that. And nobody wants to hear you pitch, right? But let's assume somebody's reading your LinkedIn profile. I would have to say that should be closer to an elevator pitch than your resume. I definitely agree with that. But what I loved is his point of like a memory dart versus an elevator pitch, right? And I'm going to incorporate right now one of my memory darts, which is pie. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you know that I love pie. I'm talking about the baked good, the dessert pie. I'm talking about that. I love pie, and I brought pie in as a part of my personal brand. And I frequently will incorporate pie as I'm training and coaching my clients. I have a book called Social Media Pie: How to Enjoy a Bigger Slice of LinkedIn. And there's a lot of pie analogies that I use. But what I find is that over time, that memory dart that I've created, that association with me and pie, it helps people to remember me. They'll be out and about, and I'm going to show one example. My friend Pam, let me grab it over my shoulder here. My friend Pam, um, I remember vaguely where she told me, but she saw this, and I think it was like I don't know, it was an event or something. But she said, I got to get that for my friend Brenda, and it's this glass pie dish. And she said, I saw it and I immediately thought of you. I've created a memory dart in the form of pie. It's a part of my personal brand, right? And I have other things behind me in the background. I've got a little mini pie that somebody got me from Etsy. Let me see if I can show you that. I can't find it. Who does that? Who looks over their camera, their shoulder while they're on camera? I do that. But at any rate, going back to the points that Steve made today, creating those memory darts for yourself, whether it's including storytelling, client testimonials, examples, I think that can be very powerful in how you're connecting with your audience and how you're getting to your point on there. So those were a couple of my key takeaways from the day. I want to go into the comments right now. Should we talk about the elephant in the room, the LinkedIn Live hiccups and stuff too? Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about that. So I've been doing these LinkedIn Live events for a while, and I'm not sure what happened here today. If it was a StreamYard issue or a LinkedIn issue or what was happening. And then I got thrown into LinkedIn jail in the middle of all of it. So I'm thinking I will still do these events, but what I may do in the future is host them on Zoom instead of doing it on LinkedIn. And my preference would be to do a LinkedIn Live and to have it live streamed to LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. But I've just found there was too many hiccups in the process today. And I know there's a lot of you that did what you did to find the YouTube stream. And I know there's others that probably came on LinkedIn and a hiccup for them and they said not worth the effort and they walked away. So my goal is always to make sure that I'm delivering information and I'm making things as easy as possible for you to access. And I'd love to keep going with StreamYard and going on LinkedIn Live and YouTube Live. But if there's going to be hiccups, those are creating hurdles for you. I'd rather just bring you into a Zoom instead. And then we can all see each other. And I'll probably mute all the audience and just have the speakers going in there. But we can still communicate with each other inside the chat. What do you think about that? I'm probably going to do 2 LinkedIn Live-a-thons a year. Today's event was focused on the enthusiastically self-employed, the solopreneur audience. My other one will be focused on experience-rich job seekers. So I'm be doing probably 2 of these a year. So let me know what your thoughts are. Maybe doing it on a Zoom versus on a LinkedIn Live. And on Zoom, you can have your video off. So you don't have to have your video on to participate in the comments. So there's an option there. So let me know what you think about that as an option. Okay. So I will not let my feathers get ruffled if technology hiccups happen. I will always try to redirect people and let you know where you can go to find the information instead. But I like to address the elephant in the room before we move on to the other topic. So do let me know that. All right, let me see what you all have added into the comments as some of your key takeaways on there. All right, let's see. And there's some comments reflecting even on like Steve as I was getting started and Pam was sharing, and I know Pam's a communications expert. She says, don't read the slide, but record your presentation if you want to share it with your face included. I usually use Vimeo with it. Great tip there, Pam. Thank you for sharing that. And then let's see. Let me pull off this banner up on screen here as I pull your comments in here. Let's see. LinkedIn user. Oh, it just went away. It like hiccuped on here again. Give me just a second here. So let me go back up. You guys are getting on fire in the comments here. The comments are lighting up, and every time the comment comes in, it shifts my screen. That's okay. Keep doing comments, but I'm just trying to figure out where the comment was. So Marta said she really liked the systems approach. Do, delegate, delete to get to the action quicker versus letting things spin. Erin also liked that approach. And then several of you were talking about Nikia's remix, her acronym there. Thinking of that. Hey, Pam. Pam is saying, I'm adding this comment so you see one of the pictures taken at your great recording session. Hey, look at that. Pam's headshot photo is from my non-event. So that is such a cool use of the headshot photo. Thank you for sharing that, Pam. I appreciate it. All right, Jennifer's advice on taking a personal business retreat. Wasn't that a great idea? And I remember the last time that Jen did a retreat, I had something already going on this weekend, and she was, I think, literally in Grand Rapids, which is the other side of the state in Michigan. I could have certainly went, but I had something else going on. So, yeah, making the time for yourself. When you are enthusiastically self-employed, you might be working yourself so hard that you don't give yourself the time to do a retreat. So definitely, take the time and looking at those business retreats, especially the ones that Jen is offering there. Let's see. Laura saying, I've started off as an independent consultant, self-employed, went to corporate, was laid off. I'm just about ready to admit I'm not interested in corporate anymore. Hey, Laura, I want you to meet Jihan. I don't know if she's still in the audience or now, but I saw a post from Jihan recently. I call her G, by the way. And I said, you need to come over to this side. The water's fine on this side of things. And you will never fire yourself when you are self employed. And when you become to a certain level of experience in your career, you might find there's a better path for you being self employed than staying on the corporate side. So surround yourself with those of us who believe in that philosophy, Laura, and you will definitely learn and be able to grow your business on there. Let's see on here. Deshelle was commenting on my point, and part of the reason I'm sharing what I learned is because you missed that one, Deshelle, right? And now you probably picked up on some of Paula's points that I missed because I'm navigating and piloting and co-piloting. So I want you guys to drop your comments in there as well. But I'm glad that that point that caught you. Philomena says, "Hey, oh, thank you, Philomena. I appreciate that." She says, "Thank you for coordinating this amazing opportunity for all of the presentations." My mouth actually is hurting from smiling. So it reminds me of my wedding day when your mouth is like you're smiling so much. I really enjoyed pulling everybody together here today. And I so appreciate your feedback. Thank you for that. All right, Sue, thank you, by the way. Sue was in comments and she was trying to chat and message me saying, hey, I know you're in jail. Can I help you? What can I do? And I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. I got it. And I kind of, I don't want to say I'm glad it happened to me, but when things like that happen to me, when I get thrown into LinkedIn jail, which doesn't happen a lot, it's only happened to me twice in my whole time on LinkedIn, because I play by the rules. I try to keep people out of jail, but I try to use this as a learning experience. And what I'm going to eventually do, Sue, and for others, is I'm going to create a blog and a video about what has happened to me over the past couple weeks with being in LinkedIn jail. Unfortunately, I was caught by filters that are in place to prevent people from doing the wrong things, opening up too many tabs, using automation, etc. I don't use automation. It's literally me opening up the tabs. But I think what happens is once you get flagged on LinkedIn for doing something what they deem to be wrong, then you're really your your account is flagged and it takes you a little while to get out of that. I get a frog. Give me a second here. I'm gonna get some Gatorade. Who does that? Who stops talking and gets Gatorade? A speaker, because we need to get our throats wet, right? So, at any rate, I'm going to use that as a learning experience to help all of you. And what I'm learning right now is when I'm on LinkedIn, I'm only going to keep one tab open at a time. That's going to be really hard for me. I don't know about all of you. How many tabs do you have open on LinkedIn right now? Be honest. You might have one with your live stream, another one with your messaging, another one that you're doing something like. I think what happened to me originally is I had 10 tabs open, and I normally will only open five and then I'll walk away, or five and then I won't do any more. But this time I had 10 open and I walked away and it was left open for several hours, which triggered the LinkedIn police to come over and arrest me and take me to jail. But at any rate, I'm going to use this as a learning experience to help all of you. So it's all good. It's all good on here. All right. Joan said she had to walk away for a few, so she'll get the response on the replay. And by the way, thank you for mentioning that, Joan, because I want to remind everyone, if you do want to get access to the replay, mellermarketing.com/LILESE. That stands for LinkedIn Live Enthusiastically Self-Employed, by the way. When I am sending you the playback email, which should be to you by Saturday, today's Thursday, it should be to you by Saturday. I will clip out each person's talk, so you don't have to watch 4 hours. You can watch a 30-minute of each of the speakers, or you can fast forward through to see the topics that you're interested in. The email will also direct you to a landing page where you can download all of those freebies and resources, and you can learn more about working with any of the speakers if you're interested. So be sure to check that out. And thank you, Joan, for saying that. All right, let's see what else is in here. All right. And I lost my train of thought in the comments on let's see here. I'm gonna scroll back up. Okay, there's Joan comment. Um, Aaron loved the E plus R equals O formula. Cindy, thank you for commenting. I like sharing my summaries. It helps to it helps me because I want to jot down some key takeaways, but hopefully it helps all of you as well. And Laura said it with Lee. She appreciated that he is truthful as a client asks him to do something he isn't able to do. He's such a great guy all around. And that's a really good point. Let's see. Steve's takeaway, he said, I have 60 bits out of 11 million in any to get my message out. Wasn't that interesting when he talked about those different points, right? Deshelle remembers the I can't versus the I won't as well from Macarena. So really good shift there to move from being a passive victim to being empowered in solving our problems there. I am a pieaholic, David, and I'm not apologizing for that. David, actually, we met at a pie bakery in Texas when I was down there for a conference. And if I can get out to more conferences across the country, I'll meet more people like David out there as well. So let me know if you hear of any conferences looking for speakers. I would love to hear about that. All right, Philip said memory dart. Such a good visual, right? You can visualize that picture of that dartboard on there as well. Let's see on here. Finding out, let's see. Marta said finding out how to get on webinars was difficult. First time on a LinkedIn Live, would prefer Zoom. I think it would be easier, Marta. Don't you agree? You could just go to the Zoom and you're in one place. I see other people saying yes to Zoom. Um, Somebody said, what is the video website? CAPTA. I'm not sure what you're asking. Oh, there's a video website called CAPTA. I'm not familiar with that one. I would probably do Zoom. I see a lot of people saying they're comfortable with Zoom. And I agree with you, Sue. I missed the LinkedIn comments. I mean, part of it, I'd like to use the platform, which LinkedIn is my platform of choice. I'd like to use it, but we're looking at reliability here and usability. And I know I lost some people going throughout here. So I think we'd have to go to Zoom just to be hiccup free, I think is the best way to talk about it. Losing captions in addition to 5 resets refresh. I'm so sorry about that, Sue. Some people, it seems to work out smoothly, and others had some other difficulties. So thank you for sharing that feedback. Hey, Nancy, it was good to see you in the audience today. We appreciate that. And someone said, I will find you wherever you are. Mwahaha, that kind of sounded stalkerish. No, it's not stalking on LinkedIn. You're reading and you're doing research. Okay. So I want you to reframe the way you say that. But all of our presenters have presence on different social media platforms. You can look them up and you can research them and you can follow them, not stalk them. Okay. So keep that in mind. All right. Yeah, there is a way to do StreamYard as live events. My friend Leanne did a StreamYard event recently as well. So maybe I try that as an alternative. We'll see on there. All right, a couple more key takeaways that you all said. Marta said, from Steve's point, focus on the point quickly. Philip, changing gears here, said it was easy to find it on YouTube. We can stream with you on any platform. And I've even thought about, I mean, Restream or other things. If it's a LinkedIn picking up the baton, I don't think it's going to matter what I use. If I go off of LinkedIn and just do it on Zoom, I don't think we will have that issue. Okay. All right. I think we're going to start to wrap up because I've got a live stream going for 4 hours and I'm thinking I can go a little bit over 4, but I don't want to get cut off on here. I think these comments, Dean, you're saying about 13. I'm guessing you have 13 tabs open on LinkedIn. Pam says 3. Somebody else says 3 right now. Multiple tabs that are open on here. So I don't think it's just me on there, but I so appreciate you guys sharing. I know it's not just me who's using multiple tabs, but when you're in LinkedIn jail and you're kind of on probation is where I feel like I'm at right now. I've got to be very careful and I'm going to keep one tab open at a time. David said like the multiple person format. Isn't it nice? It was kind of like mini podcasts for each person. By the way, all of this will be converted to a podcast later, right? And just the amount of right of time, you get the essence of the person and you can connect with them later. So Laura says, thank you. Laura, thank you for staying on with us throughout the entire event today. And I want to thank the entire community For those of you who were able to join today, I hope that you enjoyed the event. I am self employed, I'm enthusiastically self employed, and I don't get performance reviews anymore. So if you enjoyed this event, please let me know in comments. My daughter's been sitting out in the living room as I've been listening to this, and she's probably listening to me right now. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to say, if anybody says, go get Starbucks in comments, we're going to go get Starbucks after I'm done with the call, because I heard the pumpkin spice beverages came out this afternoon, and I can probably get like a decaf version of it, right? So if anybody says anything about Starbucks in comments, I'll go take her to get some coffee after we're done. She doesn't drink coffee, she gets the fruity drinks, but do let me know if you enjoy the event today, and be sure to register to get access to the playbacks. Give me until probably Saturday to get those out to you. But I so enjoyed having you on the event. I want to remind you that if you are self-employed as a coach, consultant, speaker, and or author, that we are here for you. We've got some really great resources throughout this community that we have created. And I look forward to seeing you all on LinkedIn. There it is. I got my Starbucks comment, Charlotte. So we're gonna go get Starbucks afterwards, and we got pumpkin spice lovers on here too. All right, guys, have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you again so much for watching us here today. And I'm gonna play a little video real quick with some additional bonus checklists that I have available for you. So check those out. I will have those in the playback page if you register for that. On behalf of all of us, my name is Brenda Meller. I am enthusiastically self employed, and I hope that you are too. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I look forward to seeing all of you on LinkedIn. Take care, everyone.